to go.
Okay.
Alrighty. So, what made you want to share your story tonight on the Let Me Speak campaign?
Okay, so with the first Let Me Speak campaign, I heard about it, sort of thought, oh, what a cool idea, but I wasn't ready.
In what way?
Emotionally, time frame wise, I had, or for a long time, wanted to find an appropriate platform to speak up. It was just the timing of it. That's all I can say about it. But I just held tight and manifested next time around.
Yeah.
And then when I saw the Pānui come out in February-ish, I think it was, I jumped all over it. Didn't hesitate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what your life looks like for you today?
Yep. So I am a single professional Māori woman. I have been on my own for some time, and that's all good. Quite happy like that. And for the last 14-ish years, I've lived in the Central North Island and basically rebuilt my life. What it looks like now is certainly not what it looked like about 15 years ago. But I'll get into that a little bit more. But and it's the town that I still live and work in today. So I'm really mindful that there might be a couple of supporters in town, and that's all good. Yeah, this is me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So where does your story begin?
Okay, so So my story starts, where I want to start my story is in 2005. I was in my early 30s. We had done a little trip, or tried Australia in 2000, my daughter and I. And after, I had a job in Sydney, and then when I went to Brisbane, I couldn't get work. So after 4 months, I thought, well, I've got to chuck it in, because you can't get the benefit straight away over there, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I was quickly running out of money. So we were really blessed with my bestie, because we lived with her, because she was just sort of up the road in terms of Australia-wise. So we lived with my friend and her boyfriend at the time. And, we were really lucky like that. So that's where I learnt to write a lot of job application letters, and lucked out and needed to call it. So came home in probably late 2000, like 2000, and got back together with my was ex. Went around that monger again, and then when that relationship ended badly, I thought, right, okay, I probably need to do a bit of stock take. In terms of career-wise, we actually worked for the same place. So that made it real awkward when things started to deteriorate in our relationship. So I left and got a job more locally with a great bunch of guys. Ex-army, I was admin front desk, and I worked there for about 4 years. And that's when I got the taste. That's when they were still sold. Party pills. So I won't say I've always had a thing for substances. Like, tried drinking beer when I was a kid. You know, when we used to have mini tankers back in the day, when they used to have parties. I don't think you...
No, I don't know.
Oh, okay. So that's how they used to come in, like, I don't know, they were probably like 500 litres or something. So, you know, plenty of room for the littlies to sneak around the back and have a couple of, sneaky ones. So, didn't like beer, but everybody else was having fun, so you probably thought it was fun. Dabbled with substances. On cigarettes, you start smoking cigarettes because that's what everybody else is doing when you're a kid. Then party pills, like I was saying, in the mid-2000s. Any flavour, all the flavours. What's the flavour?
What's your flavour?
What's the flavour? And quite enjoyed them, actually. But clearly I wasn't able to really maintain working full-time if I was getting on that stuff. So after a promotion, I resigned. I still had, when I reflect, I know it was that self-worth. stuff, because the guys would have sort of helped me through it. I know that. But I was too ashamed to talk about it with them. And I mean, they're grandfathers, you know. So quit work. Got in contact with some old mates, old druggy mates, and that's when I got into P. It wasn't all the time, but it was enough to, when I was sober, to reflect and think, okay, that's not really good mothering. Because I still had my daughter in my care, of course. It's really been her and I, but I don't want to make it about my girl. So that was the rabbit hole that I fell down for a couple of 3 years. You know, it was like cook, bake, rinse, repeat. And for me, at that stage of my life, it was the darkest time of my life. Not all days, but some days, most days I struggle with depression. And then we could talk about, you know, suicidal thoughts. And at the time I wanted to focus on moving forward. So that's when we relocated. But I want to go back to the beginning, because I think that's really critical. I think I wanted to sort of start off at the worst part of my life, but then there's the main reason with the kaupapa why we're here today.
Well, I was just going to ask, where do you think, like, going into substance and that stemmed from? Was there something where that stemmed from?
Absolutely. So I'm the eldest of 3 girls. My parents moved to Auckland. They were part of the urban drift, moving to Auckland in the mid-late 60s for work and all the rest of it. And long story short, one of my mum's brothers worked at the same place as my dad worked, and hello, here I am. So uncle invited dad up to his 21st, and that's where they met, and the rest is history. But they both came from reasonably big families, but settled, and this was part of, my work too, was to understand and not blame, and to forgive, my parents. Because we all doing the best we can. Yeah. With what we have, we're all doing the best we can with what we know at that time. So, their marriage was rocky. And me being the first, my first sister, she was born in 73, but she died in 1974 from a brain infection. And I know that really, or as an adult, I can understand how that messed mum up a lot. Then my youngest sister, who is still alive today, was born in 75, so there was a little bit, not too many gaps. So that's kind of the environment that I was, that I grew up in. It was either screeching, mad screaming because of, how mum was feeling that day, or deathly silences, because that's just that's how it was. And it was really, I didn't know any different. When I first started school, I was often late, unprepared, no lunch. I became very close with the school secretary because she'd have to write my late notes and she'd take me to class. So those are the early years of my education. When I was about seven, it was decided that, for whatever reason, that I would go and live with one of my mum's sisters. She's got 3 sisters. And Auntie lived a little bit up north, not far from where their parents lived. And Auntie had 2 children at the time. And it was actually a really good thing for me in reflection. It was quite traumatic, again, being sort of ripped out from the family, even though it was, dysfunctional. But Auntie was a real homemaker, a real home executive. She made her own spaghetti and preserves and all that sort of jazz. Uncle was a truck driver and really good man. So, yeah, I lived with the whānau for about a year. And then I was shipped back to Auckland with my parents and my baby sister. The first encounter or event or incident of sexual abuse was when I was 8, and it was Christmas Day morning. Needless to say, I never really liked Christmas much after that. He was about 14 or 15. He was the first cousin to me. His father and my mother are siblings. To the best of my knowledge, he touched somebody else, but I don't know for sure. But if you know, you know. So I don't know for sure, but it was just some things this other person had said to me that made me really wary. So that went on for 11 years. It slowed down a little bit when I finished school. The main reason I was getting sort of shipped up north was because both my parents were working. And, what do we do with the kids? Send them home. And I loved going back to my grandparents' farm. It was my sanctuary. It was quiet. I could disappear. Nobody was in my face because I was very introverted as a child as well. And still struggled with the threeness of being when I was with my two cousins. I mean, I love them to bits, but, I was in the middle. But yeah, I love going back to the farm. So, like I said, it went on for many years. 16, I got my job, so I was going home less often. But I would still have this. I thought I was shy. But then later on, I learned what anxiety was and trauma, and I'm still getting my head around the trauma stuff. Like, it still can affect me today. So the reaches and effects of sexual abuse are long lasting. It's just how you cope with it, I believe, and how you can find tools or get your support groups that help you manage your life and get through your day as best you can. It fucked me up psychologically, mentally, emotionally, physically, sexually, the whole gambit. This is something I've never shared out loud, but it's all part of the course, really, in the kōrero. So I was going home less often. And we hear on the whānau grapevine that his mum's sick. She was an in-law, but she was actually a really lovely lady. Now my guts turned inside out because I'm thinking, oh my God, it's just a matter of time before she dies. She had cancer. And so for the next, 18 months, I'm just waiting for the phone call, like, oh my God, I'll have to, see him or just know that he's on the same block of land as me, and it really fucked with my head. So fast forward maybe 18 months or thereabouts, and Auntie passed away. I travelled up north, so she was in Auckland, I think it was National Women's, and her daughter, who's about 10 years older than me, because that's his sister, you see, she said, come with me, we'll go home first, we'll get home first and we'll tidy up, while we wait for Mum to come home with everybody. I said, yeah, cool. That was the most treacherous and longest trip ever, because I just wanted to tell her that her brother had hurt me. I just wanted to tell her because I wanted to be free. Then I stopped Because I thought, well, she just lost her money, you dick. You know, like, really? Mary, really? So that put a lid on that. Then we get through the tangy buzz and all the rest of it. So I was at the party, or after the party, and there was a few people there. I lost my bed to a drunkard, but I wanted to go to bed, and one of the uncles said, "Oh, there's beds up my place." And there's his dad. And I just looked at him and I said, "Don't you fucking touch me." No. I said, "Don't fucking touch me." Because they were still in the party and all the rest of it, you know. So I walked up to Uncle's in the rain and found a spare bed and knocked out. Now I woke up with him on top of me. And with the bottom half gone. Well, my pants and my undies removed. And he was sexually assaulting me. And I felt powerless. I was scared. I was freaked out. I was tired. But also at the same time, it was like I just couldn't move. I just felt like I couldn't even lift my arms. I couldn't even scream. I didn't even know who was at home, if anybody was. So the next day, you know, he's up early and he's gone. Then I hear these comments from different whānau members saying, "Oh, yeah, you gotta watch that one. Oh, yeah, be careful of her." And I'm thinking, are you talking about me? Because I don't see anybody else around here and you're kind of gesturing my way. So I didn't confront him because I just felt like nobody believed me. When he abused me as a child, the very first day, like that morning when everybody's up doing what they do, you know, sorting out the Christmas meal and stuff, he found a way to just sneak up behind me and say, "If you tell anybody, I'll tell them it was you." You know, like 20 seconds. Oh, mindfuck. Oh my God. They won't believe you. Oh my God. Okay, you must be right. Okay, right. And that's the long-lasting damage, really, of the predators. They're manipulative. They're and I think it's, well, I'm not trying to make excuses. I don't think it's so much about the sex. It's about the power and the control.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was and I've never ever said that out loud, that he raped me. And for a long time I played the mind games on myself, like, doesn't rape happen in dark alleys with strangers? You know, all those sort of stereotypical ideas. No. To make it worse, that was my first sexual experience. You know, I won't sort of talk it down. I just remember lying there thinking, oh my God, be done with, please. Like, what the hell? There was no contraception. I wasn't on the pill. So for the next, it felt like forever. I'm waiting to find out if I'm pregnant or not. What the fuck? Because, you know, you have to jump through that burning flame of whatever mess that thank God I wasn't. Thank God I wasn't. And in those dark times, that's when I really found my faith in God. I'm not going to preach, but that's really what kept me sort of connected with coming out of the darkness. And that's why I wanted to call my story From Darkness to Light. Triggers, just how he looks. How he looks. If I see men or even people that look, well, mainly men, I freak out. I just freeze and I'm really wary. Like, it's not enough to make me sort of shit my pants or anything, but I'm just like, oh, watching you again. Yeah, okay. And they're probably just some random guy walking down the street, you know.
Yeah.
But that's how it affected me. I haven't seen him for probably about 10 years. I mean, I'm not in a hurry. But the last time was at his nephew's tangi, which my guts were just flipping out because we had not long moved down to the area, and his brother-in-law was from not far from here. So of course, you know, when we found out the news, you know, I said, yeah, man, I'll be there really for his sister. But yeah, that was a pretty harrowing couple of 3 days, just like, I mean, you're really not sleeping, you know, so it was just like, oh my God, is that him? Oh, far out. So I isolated myself with people, my whānau, but nobody knows. I mean, they may have suspected, but nobody ever came to me. And this is not a criticism, but nobody ever came to me and went, hey, you alright? I just noticed something,
Would that have made a difference to you, do you think?
Yeah, I do. I believe it would have. Yep. Yeah, I do. Because I was asking those questions myself. Like, was it just me? Like, did that just happen? But yeah, I was scared silent, really, for many, many, many years. Which I believe attributed to my substance abuse and use. I have a jam every now and then, but I'm either all in or I'm all out.
Yeah.
Not making excuses, that's just my makeup. Where I am on my healing journey is, I've got a wee ways to go. Now, I want to talk about a couple other things.
Yeah.
I've probably skipped around a little bit.
That's all right.
So, I'm holding it to the camera. So this is a photo of me, when I was about 8 years old. So that's probably just before Hiroshima, is like how I like to call it.
And what do you think when you look at that picture?
When I look at my photo, I think, I got you, girl, because she just looks sad. Yeah, I hated wearing those things too, girl. Itchy scratchy. School. Now, I just wanted to just briefly touch on why I do believe, and I say God, not in the Bible God, but there have been some instances in my life that I just think, well, you can't explain it. One of the primary schools I went to, Freeman's Bay Primary School, I was good friends with the principal's daughter, and she was a bit of a cow, but she was my mate. And then when we have the birthday parties, there was like half a dozen of us girls going over to the air plays. Bit of money. Fast forward to, so that's primary school. When I started intermediate school, it was a whole, different zones and all the rest of it. And some of your mates come from your primary and some of them don't. And I started intermediate school, and there was a group of girls that had gone to Ponsonby Primary. And so you're getting to know each other. Hey, where'd you come? Da, 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 da. And they seemed to know quite a lot about my principal. I was like, they knew his name, they knew the car he drove, the van he drove, which in hindsight was like pretty scary. Then they were joking, well, it was their coping mechanism. They were joking that he used to pick them up after school and take them for drives. And even I was, as a young child, because of my experience, it just made me go, yeah, what? So, and someone was looking out for me because there were many times they were trying to put peer pressure on me to go with them. It's just weird, come with us. John's going to pick us up. I'm like, fuck, if it's the one I'm thinking, hell no. Hell no. I never saw him with them, but the bragging and the boasting and the money that they used to come to school with doesn't take too much to work out that he was actually sexually assaulting them. That came out a few years later when we'd left the area. We still had distant family living in Central City. And it had come out that he was a sexual predator for I don't know how many years, and I think they just felt sorry for him because he was old and dying and all the rest of it. Yeah, miracle number one. Considering we'd go to his place, at least once a year, but nothing ever happened to me. Thank God for that.
To your principals?
Yep.
That's fucked up in itself. Hey, you don't go to no fucking principal's house. I'd fucking die if my fucking kids came, hey, my daughter come to me, Mum, no you're not.
I guess, well, maybe it was the community at the time. I don't know. You're quite right. I mean, if my daughter came home now and said, I'm going home with Mr. So-and-so's having a party for us, I'd be like, really? But that's what we did. We went there more than once, you know.
Yeah.
So there was, I'll just say opportunity, but praise God, nothing happened to me. Now, future-wise, so that's probably about, moving forward, I do want to write a book about my journey. Maybe some fictional ones, I don't know, get creative. And for my career-wise, looking at transitioning out of that, because what I know of myself is that tonight's like the cope-up, I'm utilising it as a way to peel off the onion, as it were. I needed to voice so I could move on. There's some areas I'm still working through, and I acknowledge that. But on the whole, I'm a pretty well functioning adult female who owns her own home. So I haven't done too badly, but I know I can. There's areas that I'd like to improve, and there's aspirations that I've got to achieve, that I want to achieve, so that I can be living my best life. And waiting for my book appointment to come along. So that's where I'm at now, and I think that's about all
What resources did you utilise to try to, start healing yourself?
So thank you for asking me that. So when it was, I think, late 90s, when I was a young mum, I thought, man, I need to sort some shit, because I realised that how I'd been parented wasn't how I wanted to parent. Like I thought, fuck, if I duplicate that, you don't need another me.
In what way?
Well, in nurturing, connecting, respecting. Like when you talk with when I learnt how to talk with my girl when she was little, was to get down on their level and the eye-to-eye thing, rather than the whole intimidation power move. I got into watching Super Nanny.
I was just going to say Super Nanny.
Yeah, she was amazing. And got some tools from there about, boundaries, manners, and also for us, because it was just her and I for a long time, like a team, I'm here for you, you're here for me, not on a great level, but, like if you make a mess, can you clean it up? But, I'm really proud of how she turned out, despite me not being at full capacity. And I don't beat myself up a bit. That's the way it was. But there was those tools. I went to counselling for a spell. Actually, I'd like to talk about that for a minute. At that stage, or back then, the lady I saw just filled in a form. That's how I remember it. I got a letter from ACC the next week, said, XYZ Centre has registered you for this many hours, approval letter. And, she gave me lots of tools about, it's that whole, it's not your fault, not your, no blame, no, it's not your shame, all those kinds of tools, and to reaffirm who you are as an individual. So they paid me in pretty good stead, really, for a little while. Then I, maybe about 10 years later, I did another stint. Actually, it was just before I left Auckland, with a fella. I was all up for it, psychotherapist. I thought, yeah, man, let's go. And he was brilliant. He was an Irish guy. But I could be real honest with him. Like, I'm not proud. There are a couple of occasions I turn up and I'm off my nut. I'm like, I'm here. I'm here, man. I'm here. And he would do what he could, but he wouldn't sort of torture me and make me sit there for a whole hour. He'd be like, okay, now, do you want to, and just maybe spend 15 minutes with me, because he could see I was in no fit condition to go, well. But I wrote him a letter, actually, when I bought my home, wow, to let him know I'd, done all right, turned out all right. And he wrote me back that he doesn't often hear back from people he's helped, so that was pretty cool. And that was, that was probably the main ones professionally. This time around, I think the other ladies might have touched on it too. ACC website needs to be more clear. It sort of implies that you can just ring a clinic or for support, like ring a provider.
Yeah.
And that's not even the case. So when I made my inquiries a couple of weeks ago, I was talking with a young fella. I said, listen, just tell me what hoop I need to jump through, bro. Like, just tell me. And then he kind of was talking around like, oh, a referral needs to be made. I said, but who? Like who? I can go down the road and get my, social worker friend to sign it. Like, I mean, what do you want?
It's not a clear-cut fucking thing for...
No, that has not been my experience.
Okay.
So what he did say was, oh, well, you need to go to get a referral from your GP. I said, yep, cool as. And then the GP will refer it, and then, go from there. Like, implying ACCL, would have notified me. It's been a week, I haven't heard nothing. So I'll be jumping up and down on Monday. You got some questions?
Yeah. In regards to your experience, how did that affect you as a mother to a daughter? And have you taught your daughter about safety and things like that?
I was, overly protective. But it kind of worked in our favour because I didn't have a vehicle. So I was reliant on people to, if we had do's or get-togethers. So if I was being reliant on other people, I could screen them. That cousin, he's all good. Just so that I could, because I wanted the flexibility to get away. But I taught her about, your body is yours. Yeah. Nobody is allowed to touch you. It was really when she got to like 1.5, 2, when she could have the language sort of skills. Yeah. Because clearly I needed to, do the nappy changes every now and then. But I won't say made it an issue, but an awareness. An awareness of right and wrong, good and bad. I believe I held her in good stead, to the best of my knowledge. Yeah.
And going through something like that, and the perpetrator or the abuser being a family member, does that fuck you up in having trust with your own family?
In some ways, yes. It certainly made relationships.
Yeah, how did that
mission, because he was, he wasn't that close to me as another cousin was, and I looked up to this other one as a brother, the one that I lived with their family. But I guess it was like an intuition thing, it was really just him, the toxic one. There were a couple of, that one again, and you just, he was pretty harmless, one of them. It was just, oh, God, he's nutting out again, but it was just him that would make me go, oh, no. My other cousins, I trusted them. Yeah. Like, one of them, cool. Because I've got 43 cousins first cousins on my mum's side and 24 on my dad's side. So, I've got quite a few first cousins. Yeah. But generally, on the whole... he was the only one that was like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. When you were younger and that happened when you were 8, you never told anybody?
I never told anybody. I never told someone. I was going to take my chewing gum out.
Yeah, no, go ahead. And just one other question from whānau that are watching. Yeah. What is your advice for others that may have been carrying the same feelings as you from that age or even younger?
Yeah, I say honour yourself. You owe it to yourself to get some help. That's what we're talking about, eh? Like, if you feel like you need some help, you probably do. You might.
What would have helped you to speak up when you were that age? Is there anything that could have happened that would have made you feel comfortable in speaking up?
Yeah, somebody that would listen, because everybody's kind of wrapped up in their own shit. Somebody who would... Now, that was something that I've learned in my healing as well, is like and when I say culture, it's like the values, like in that unit. I don't get away from the family thing, but in that unit. But I didn't have any confidence really in the adults around me. I mean, like I said, if Mum wasn't screaming her face off, I don't know where that came from, but it was certainly an outward behaviour. I mean, if you've got a kid that's like bursting into tears because somebody wants to take a photo, I don't know. Don't you think that's a little bit odd?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I would get really wound up, really wound up. I struggled with when I transitioned from Form 1 to Form 2 in intermediate. That was back in those days when they had like separate schools most places.
Yeah.
I was catatonic when it was the end of the year because I'd grown so attached to my friends. They were like my friends.
Yeah, you're safe zone.
My safety. They know me. They got me. I mean, I was a basket case. My parents had split up at that stage, and Mum rang my dad and said, "You need to come talk to this kid." And I just stayed in my room for like 2 or 3 days. Like, I mean, a real, like grieving, like massively grieving.
You just
I
feel like
everything
you're
so
kind
deeply.
of invisible and nobody could
Yeah,
even...
nobody cares. I'm just like, what's the phrase? Be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Be seen and not heard. Not to sort of talk this up, but we grew up in the age where it was really not all the time, but when there were family get-togethers, of course we were sitting out in the car in the pub, at the pub while all the adults getting trashed. But nothing ever happened there. I mean, I think they were quite fond memories, actually. Having running races in the car park, just to kill the time. But I think, people, I think if you have any concerns, if you think, oh, that's a bit odd, I don't know, or even educating your children, your mokopuna, about safety. It's a little bit different in this world today, with the internet and all the rest of it. Yeah. Oh, my Lord. But still worth it a conversation, because it's so easy. I mean, the door is just wide open.
Did you ever think that if you did speak out, no one would believe you?
Yes. Yep.
Why?
Because I'll tell you, it was funny. I thought about this today. I think I've got another first cousin who was he's a bit older than me. He's probably about 6 years older than me, and he went off the rails. So he was a young teenager, and we were like 9 or 10. He went off the rails. It wasn't until later on he went and lived with another family in the South Island, like adopted himself out. But then when he came back, he was really vocal about he had suffered abuse at he went to a Māori boys' school. I won't say the name. So even though, and he was really vocal about it, but the chitter chatter, with the mum and the aunties were like, "Oh God, he's fucking mad, fucking poor rangi, fucking here he go," like it was as if he was.
It was him.
For attention.
Yeah.
Now, he could be a little bit like that. But I don't know how far it went. But he was really vocal about it. And that's why I believe why he cut himself off from our family and went and adopted himself off to some Pākehā people.
Do you think hearing that would have made you feel like, well, fuck, if they don't believe him?
Absolutely. I had no faith in the adults around me at all. No.
Do you know if the abuser, your abuser, did it to any of your other whānau?
I believe he hurt or touched another one of my younger cousins because when it happened to me, I suppose I did tell somebody, and I was like, oh my God, he slept next to me. Like, I went to sleep, he wasn't there. I wake up, he's violating me. We go to sleep. I wake up. He's gone. Right? And she sort of indicated like, "Oh yeah, I'm glad he slept by you," kind of a thing. Yeah. Like, and I was, for me, it was like, "Aye." But when I look back, I felt I'm making these decisions, but she had probably a better relationship with her mother than I did with mine. So when I went back to Auckland. I mean, it wasn't in my mind, but it was never something I kind of thought, well, I hope you talk to your mum. In my head, I hope you sort that out, talk with your mum about that. But we never ever talked about it ever again. And that was the only person I can think of that, aside from the male cousin that I mentioned, I believe it was the perpetrator's older brother. Haven't really looked into that much further, but
nothing happened to him.
No, nothing happened. Nothing happened.
So, what kind of mahi do you feel you need to do to continue your healing?
For me, some mahi moving forward is affirmations. Really like knuckling down and being authentic with myself. The mahi I do, not that it's all about work, but you got to pay the bills. But I'm ready to move. Like 10 years ago, I would never ever thought of, being, I won't say freelancing, but I like the certainty of full-time work. But I'm really over it, and whether it's the workplace or not, I know I'm capable of better things. And I really want to work on becoming a more confident te reo speaker. I started off in a course this year and sort of had to park it for a while because I was doing some other kaupapa, but yeah, that's another area I want to move into.
How important is that to you?
Really important because it's a part of my identity and part of my, I guess, a new tool to move forward as well. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share with us tonight?
Yeah, there is one more thing. And I don't know if this is going around in circles, but I want to reach out and ask for forgiveness to my sister. I won't get into it too much, but about 5 or 6 years ago, she asked me about a particular incident, not with the perpetrator that hurt me, but about another cousin. And I had heard a murmur, but I had no evidence of it. And when she asked me if I'd heard anything, I lied. I said, no, I don't know anything about that. So that's been eating me up ever since that came out, or between her and I. And I hope we can work through that. We've got an alright relationship, but for the longest part we didn't, because we're living our own lives really. But so that's something I wanted to say. I guess I want to forgive myself because I did the best that I could at the time, and really on the whole I'm quite blessed to be where I am. I know that, but I need to shake off the shackles so that I can move forward and really embrace living my best life, and hopefully never have to worry about this thing again.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you have inspired so many by sharing your truth tonight. We truly appreciate you utilising all your strength to raise awareness around this topic, and we will wish you nothing but the best for your future.
Thank you.